when she told you that she was having intrusive thoughts, did you ask her what they were?
Yeah.
And what was her response?
She described thoughts of hurting the kids or them having some sort of ailment. So like she was very worried that Cora had, whenever she had a stomach ache, she became overly worried that she was, had like a liver problem or something much more dramatic than it was.
Okay. But going back to that first part, she said she had thoughts of harming the kids. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And did she tell you whether or not she had specific thoughts of how she would harm the kids?
No.
And she didn't describe that as hearing this external voice telling her to harm the kids, correct?
Correct.
She told you she was having intrusive thoughts herself of harming the children, correct?
Correct.
And did you ask her how she was going to harm the kids?
I didn't ask it in that way. It was the same thing. I said, do you have a plan, and is it disturbing to you? And she said no, and then she said yes. And
let me go back for a minute there. You said, do you have a plan? And she said no. What was the second part of the question?
Do you find it disturbing? Okay. And she said yes. And she described it as, really the way she was describing it as something that might happen to the kids.
So it was more something might happen than she might do something. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And did she tell you how long she had those thoughts for?
She didn't give a duration.
And how many times did she tell you this, that she had thoughts of harming the kids?
A couple times.
And was that a couple times over the course of a night or two in December?
Yeah.
And as a result of her telling you this, that she had thoughts of harming the kids, what did you do?
Her parents came up, and I think I asked her at some point, do you feel like you need to be kept away from them? And she said no. And then, it was very confusing because a minute later she was making them lunch or playing with them or, getting them ready for bed or whatever it was. So.
The fact that so many people are blaming this man is absolutely ridiculous to me. It is absolutely ridiculous. This man lost his children. His children were taken away from him by the woman who was supposed to protect them. And the amount of people, quote unquote, dumbass women that are coming up here saying that it's his fault. It's his fault that this happened is completely insane. They are saying that this woman is innocent. They are saying that the murderer, Jason Voorhees over here, female Jason Voorhees, is completely innocent. And now they're not only is she innocent, but they're trying to shift the blame to him with no evidence.
11 witnesses testified in Lindsay Clancy's murder trial today. Let's break it down. It started with the medical examiner who did the autopsy on baby Callan. Only jurors were able to see autopsy photos, and some of them were visibly emotional looking at them. Lindsay Clancy was loudly sobbing during this. The testimony was pretty short, but afterwards, court had to take a quick break. After that break, the family's longtime pediatrician testified. So the pediatrician testified that in general, Lindsay seemed like a normal mother, the kids were healthy, all good. She saw Lindsay and Cora at a doctor's appointment the morning of the murders, and she testified that nothing seemed off, and that in her experience, she had never felt she needed to screen Lindsay or give her resources for any postpartum issues. Next up, multiple daycare teachers who encountered the children testified. Again, they testified about the kids being generally well adjusted and Lindsay seeming normal by all accounts. Then Lindsay Clancy's former co-worker at Mass General, remember she's a labor and delivery nurse, who's also a friend of hers, testified. She said Lindsay was a wonderful mother. She's known her for over a decade, and that all Lindsay ever wanted was to be a mother and have a big family. She did testify that Lindsay had told her about some mental health issues she was having. She told her about the insomnia she was experiencing and brain fog. Prosecutors asked this question of multiple people who had encountered Lindsay, saying, did you have any trouble understanding what she was saying? At any point, was there anything different about her speech? And they all said no. Another mom friend in Duxbury who Lindsay had confided in testified, also saying she didn't know anything about suicidal or homicidal thoughts. Mostly she was just aware of the insomnia issue. but she testified that Lindsay loved her kids. Then Lindsay's longtime childhood friend of 29 years, testified. She talked about the relationship over the years, but then she also testified about visiting Lindsay in March of 2023 at Spalding Rehab. So this is nearly 2 months after the children were killed. She says they made small talk, they played Uno, and it was a pretty basic visit. The prosecutor asked at any point, did Lindsay break down in tears or talk to you about the deaths of her children? And she said no. Then on cross-examination, she told the defense attorney that she had been warned by Lindsay's sister not to bring up what had happened. After that, Lindsay's former father-in-law, Patrick Clancy's father, took the stand. He testified that Lindsay was a protective mother in a way that he said any mother would be. He said he and his wife were aware that Lindsay was having some struggles and that Patrick had confided in him about his concern for Lindsay. He referred to Lindsay and Patrick and the kids as the all-American family. The final person to take the stand was a state trooper who did some investigation into Lindsay's digital footprint. During this very quick testimony, prosecutors read one of her Facebook posts in a mom support group in which she said, quote, "I'm truly finding my 19-month-old to be the most difficult human I've ever encountered. I mean that with all the love in my heart. And every single thing with him is a battle, and it has been for a while." This was talking about her second child, Dawson. It was posted back in 2021. That was the last thing jurors were left with. Lindsay Clancy's defense attorney tells me he expects that her psychiatrists who treated her for these mental health issues before the killings will be called to the stand on Friday.
Now, I've read a lot of comments of women saying like, "Oh, he should have done more." What he was already doing enough. How about this, ladies? How about this? How can you say that he should have done more, but you don't say that she should have done less by not killing her children? Can we all agree with that? That this woman, fine, even if you don't like this guy for whatever reason, I mean, maybe just because he's a man and you guys are misandrous, but he factually did not do anything, because if he did, then he would be in handcuffs. He wouldn't be on the stand giving an account of his crazy wife. He absolutely wouldn't. And the fact that so many ladies they're trying to find a way for this murderer to escape accountability is just frightening to me. They need to repeal the 19th Amendment, because ladies are just crazy. I understand not all of y'all, but it's enough of y'all that y'all are doing some serious damage. If this woman gets off from this, will I be shocked? Yeah, a little bit, but not too much. I mean, they let you run around off of your own unborn children every single day. So, I mean, what's 3 more? What is 3 more?
Look, I'll eat my words if anything comes out that is like the smoking gun that proves me wrong here. But at this point, you cannot convince me that he didn't do this. I thought this was just an open and shut case. Like, I didn't think there was any questions around it. Obviously very sad circumstances, but I thought it just was like clean cut, done. Everything that I have seen now, none of it makes me think that she did it. You cannot convince me at this point that he didn't do it.
How? What is your... Oh my God, man. And then they wonder why men don't want to get married. So many women are just dumb. The fact that you can't even... She didn't say the evidence, what specific evidence points to him. What specific evidence can you point to and say he did it because of this? It's very clear that he wasn't there. They have the cell phone records and everything. He was not there. So how can you say a man who isn't there is the one that took the life of his own? How can you even put the blame on this man? Like, this makes no sense. This makes no sense at all. That women hate men this much that they can't even tell the truth, that they're willing to allow a murderer to walk free just because they don't want her to be held accountable. This is like sad, frightening, and it's honestly disgusting. And these are the women who are saying that they should be in charge, they should have more and more and more. Like, nah, man, if it was up to me, I'd turn this to the Middle East real quick.
The timeline for her home alone with the children is so tight, and then this potential email that he possibly sent from home makes it even tighter. So in that amount of time that he was gone, she's supposed to have done all this to the children in the basement, come upstairs, locked herself in the room, tried to off herself in so many different ways. And I'm sorry, but a nurse knows how to effectively complete that task in one quick, clean, efficient way, okay? Launches herself out the window with enough time to become hypothermic, but a small enough amount of time for the baby to be able to be resuscitated. And my understanding is that they came to her first. They didn't even, when paramedics arrived, when EMS arrived, they didn't even know that there were children in the basement yet. So they tended to her before he went down and found the kids and called them down there. That is such a small amount of time. I don't see how it's possible. How is that possible for her to have done all that, ended up incapacitated outside in such a small amount of time that the baby can be revived? How? She didn't do it. And why are his phone records sealed in order to have him testify? Best case scenario, you're cheating, which I'm convinced he was already carrying on this affair with the new wife. Best case scenario, you're cheating, you're a piece of shit, you don't want to look bad. Worst case scenario, his phone records would have been incredibly incriminating. I don't think she did it.
Do you see how she's coming up with nothing? Everything she's saying is nothing. She's just saying, I don't like the way this looks. She has no evidence, by the way. Again, as how most women typically don't have any evidence. She doesn't have any evidence. If you're going to say that this guy did something, you have to point to something. Hey, how about this? She's just like, well, the time doesn't add up. Well, obviously the time does add up, which is why they arrested this woman. The time adds up to them. So I'm going to paint you another theory. So this man, we already know that he wasn't in the house. So you're saying that this man, came home off the 3 children and then tried to off her. And she's not saying this is what I'm saying. Like, she is alive. She's alive. The wife is alive. She could easily say, hey, I didn't do this. He did. Even she's saying she did it. But y'all are still going with he did? When they're looking right at each other, she didn't say objection. They aren't trying to push the blame on this man. They're trying to see, is she going to go to jail or is she going to go to an insane asylum? But he did not do this. And it's a shame this man is grieving the loss of his 3 children that were taken by the hands of someone who was supposed to protect and provide for them, the mother. And instead of allowing this man to grieve and properly, you're saying, well, I just don't like that she's being held accountable, so let's just blame it on him. These women are cooked, man.
It's day 14 in the Lindsay Clancy trial and bombshell testimony today. We are streaming live on APR and Beauty TV on YouTube if you would like to tune in. But for all you Patrick committed the murder warriors, which is really not even the focus of the case, but it's something that has gained a lot of traction and have TikTok derangement syndrome at full force, your theory has been debunked today. Because they had the iPhone extraction specialist as the final blow to the defense. He was the final witness for the prosecution. And he had the health data that shows exactly when Lindsay went down to the basement, basically killed those kids, answered the phone from Patrick in between time, and she went back up those stairs. And Patrick's phone was over here doing this. Hear me clearly one more mother-hunging time. Her iPhone and watch showed the data of the exact time she took those kids into the basement, killed them, and then came back upstairs. Okay? That's for all you Patrick did it, defamation, TikTok deranged warriors. You guys have literally lost your minds and have totally forgot that this woman is on trial for strangling 3 children. So that was bombshell. But that data showed exactly what she was doing in those moments. She wasn't psychotic. She was in those moments texting him back and forth, checking her phone in the middle of just killing her kids. She wasn't psychotic. Okay? Googling symptoms of psychosis. Somebody who is psychotic will not be Googling symptoms of psychosis.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know she was doing that. So you're Googling symptoms of what you're gonna try to make your defense in court just in case you get caught. I'm just gonna Google this so I can pretend to be it. Ain't no way in the world, man. Ain't no way. You know what's crazy? If this were a man, it would have been open and shut case Johnson. They would have taken this guy in the back of the jailhouse, shot him in the back of the head, and buried him, or let the wolves and bears get him. Crazy, it's crazy. You see how delusional people are. You really see how delusional and just stupid, downright stupid, a lot of people are. Evidence right in front of your face, but they will still, the typical female behavior, they will still ignore facts, data, statistics, evidence is right in front of their face based on I feel this. Well, why do you feel that way? I don't know. I just don't think that she would have done it. I'm like, well, the evidence says that she did. Nah, I just don't believe it. So all of these police officers, detectives, forensics experts that are on this case that have 10, 20, 30 years in the field, you think that they're wrong and you think that you're right because you just you just don't believe that she could have. Oh yeah, all right, man. All right. Yeah, miss me with that.
Because they don't know they're psychotic. You might see them Googling, why is the FBI watching me? Something that's feeding into the psychosis, but not what are the symptoms of psychosis. And then her coworker gets on the stand and says she told her about Andrea Yates years ago. Okay? Bombshell. Then her mother gets on the stand, takes the stand, and says, yeah, a month before, Lindsay told us she was going to kill the kids.
Just months before the deaths of her 3 small children, Lindsay Clancy told her mom and then husband that she had thoughts about harming them. That new information coming out from day 14 of testimony in Lindsay Clancy's triple murder trial. After calling more than 70 witnesses, the prosecution rested their case just before noon Monday, and then it was the defense's turn, and they started with some emotional testimony from Lindsay Clancy's sister and mom. Lindsay's sister, Allison Osga, testifying that her mood was worsening as she described having depression, insomnia, suicidal ideation. These conversations were had with Lindsay Clancy's mom as well, Paula Musgrove, and in a text message, a series of texts in October 2022, that's when she started to realize the scope of what Lindsay Clancy was telling her she was dealing with, not really feeling like herself, struggling with depression, worried about going back to work as a nurse at Mass General Hospital. And Lindsay's mother testified that in October 2022, she went up to the Clancy's Duxbury home to help take care of the 3 kids. And that's when she says she was standing with Patrick Clancy in the home when Lindsay Clancy approached them and said that she was having thoughts about harming the children. And both her loved ones testified they continued checking on her on the daily. Her mom was making trips up to Duxbury to help take care of the kids, help check in on Lindsay, back and forth for quite a while. She says that's when she started to realize, though, just what Lindsay was struggling with. She was afraid to be alone. She says she was paranoid about things you shouldn't be paranoid about. She was afraid to drive a car. All signs, they say, that her mental health was quickly declining. The defense are calling these witnesses to try to highlight the mom Lindsay was. They all said she loved being a mom, that it was her dream, and she loved her children and would do anything for them. So, of course, they were shocked by this tragedy. And the defense is hoping this witness testimony really highlights their argument that Lindsay was not herself, that she was over-medicated, that she was suffering from postpartum psychosis at the time of the killings and not in her right state of mind.
So her own, I didn't know this, her own mother testified that? So then are we going to blame the mother too? Because we're blaming the father, saying that the husband/father saying that he should have done more. So should the mother have done more as well? Should the father have done more as well? Because the husband confided in Lindsay's father, his father-in-law. He confided in him because he didn't know what to do. He was struggling, and he testified to this. So is everybody guilty or just the husband guilty? Because y'all don't like that. I don't know. I'm reading all of these things. Well, he drugged her. He was neglectful. He abused. Where's your evidence of any of this? Where is it? You just can't put these things on people and just say, well, I feel this way, so it is what it is. That's how men go to jail for a very long time based on no evidence. Also, you ever notice that only ladies can do this? Only women can put somebody behind bars based on no evidence. No man has ever done that before. I mean, unless you're like the president. He doing it all the time. But I'm saying no regular 9-to-5 working average Joe, plain Jane, has ever put in. Only women can do that. Just put you behind bars based on nothing. Based on, well, because I said it. And this is what they're trying to do to this man. If this were up to them, they would take this man freedom. Even though she clearly did it and he's missing his children, they would take this man's freedom.
Now, during cross-examination, prosecutors attempted to poke holes in the emotion and in Clancy's own messages to loved ones, citing text messages she sent leading up to that day at the end of January where she told her loved ones that she was starting to feel a little bit better. Not 100%, but a little bit better than she was just weeks before. The prosecution in this case is trying to argue that the killing of these 3 kids was premeditated. And we're expecting another full day of testimony on Tuesday. Patrick Clancy's mom, Sue Clancy, who we're told also had an involvement in taking care of the kids before this all happened, is expected to take the stand.
To find out is y'all don't think Lindsay Clancy did it. Y'all think Patrick, the father, did it. Even though Lindsay and her lawyer isn't arguing this, it's that she was going through postpartum psychosis or whatever. Whether we agree or disagree, that's what their argument is. So how did it flip on Patrick? What am I missing? Okay, so he know that she was going through what she was going through. He could have been there more. He could have did more. Maybe you could argue that. Maybe he's a bad person. Maybe he just should have been there more. Maybe he neglected her. I don't.
But see, this is what kills me, man. I'm about to get so... Listen. Y'all will find any type of way to... How was he neglectful? Did she say that? No. So I don't even know why people are saying that. Y'all are putting things on this man to make it seem like what she did isn't as bad, or what she did is justified to some extent. You can't say that he's a bad person. Nothing points to that. You can't say that he was neglectful because it proves that he wasn't based on all the witness testimonies. I don't understand why people have to keep saying, well, he was there, so we have to add this man. We have to add him into it. It can't just be on her. We have to say, well, he was there, and maybe he did this. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he was neglectful. Maybe he wasn't a great person. I don't know. And then another thing, this whole postpartum thing, y'all are really milking this cow. Y'all are milking this cow. This cow is dry. Postpartum, women will use postpartum for everything. I knew this kid was, I think 11 or 10 or 11, and she was still using postpartum. I said, lady, get out of here, man. No. But again, it's a lady. It's a woman. So we have to figure out a way to excuse her from her actions.
No, but how is it not clear that she is the one who did it? No matter what the reason was. Because I went and watched the trial myself. You got to quit just listening to people on TikTok like me talking about stuff. It was hours long. It was so many hours. I cleaned up for the last 2 days and I was watching it in the background. And I have yet to hear evidence that suggests that Patrick did this. That was stuff that made me say, well, damn, Patrick. But that's it. I actually sympathize for because at this point it seems like she was going through something. Go in and out between believing if it was actually that bad. But, even then, it was her. So... what am I missing? Y'all let me know.
You sympathize for her? I done heard it all right now. I have heard it. Repeal the 19th Amendment because these women are crazy. You feel sorry for the woman that killed her children and not for the man that lost his children. Is that what I'm hearing correctly? That you have more sympathy for the woman that strangled her 3 children than you do for the man that lost his children at the hands of his wife, their mother.
So a mother murders all 3 of her children And yet all of TikTok finds some way to blame it on the husband. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about the Lindsay Clancy case, where she murdered 3 of her children, and she is basically saying it was because of postpartum depression. That part people don't really care about. What people are caring about is the fact that her husband didn't help. Yet multiple cases show that her husband was not only trying to get her help, was trying to help the kids, was a great father, and was also a great husband. What's even crazier, some people think that he's the one who did it and he's planting blame on his wife. He wasn't even home, mind you. Now, I'm not going to talk about the postpartum depression or if she's guilty of the murders or anything like that. I don't care about that. But what I do care about is the fact that people are demonizing a man who just lost all 3 of his children. The woman that he loved ruined their entire life that they built. And now he basically just is empty and has nothing. And now people are demonizing him and saying it's his fault. Imagine grieving over your dead children and then you have to deal with the fact that the internet is calling you the person who's at fault for this when you did nothing wrong. Stop hating on Patrick. He did nothing wrong. Stop trying to blame it on him. This is just misandry at its finest. Lock in.
This is 100% misandry. This is the only other outcome of this. I'm sorry. The only other, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. The only other explanation is there. That's it. It's misandry. The man didn't do it, but for some reason they're still trying to paint this man as if he's damn Darth Vader out here. Never seen people try so hard to get a woman off for the murder of her own children. Actually, I'm lying, because every single day y'all will go down and take the lives of your unborn children. In 2025, there were over 1 million baby deletions, and y'all are so now y'all can take the lives of unborn children and have nothing happen to you, but now you can take the lives of your living children and have nothing done to you. We're just gonna blame it on the guy. And then you wonder why men just don't. I'm done with it. That's it for today. Comment down below your thoughts on this, because I'm very, very, very intrigued. If you haven't done so, hit that like, hit that hype button. If you want another good video, click this one on your left. If you want a great one, click this on your right, and I will see you on another one.